Alright, this is Ryan Haney. I'm a freshman at Clemson University right now, and I'm doing my new student dialogue video log thing for the Crossing Borders class. To me, the program seemed to make a lot of sense as to why freshmen are doing it. It's important to have people more well-rounded and aware of what's going on in the world and how we can relate to other people. What I found most interesting about it was the way that our instructors try to find relationships between everyone in the class, regardless of where you're from and sort of what you'd gone through in life, stuff like that. There's always some way to relate yourself to another person. It was nice for me. I'm from Houston, Texas, and there wasn't very many people. I didn't know a soul coming up here to come to school, so it's pretty interesting coming up and seeing all the different sorts of people, and just kind of what really life in South Carolina was like. Mostly what I wanted to talk about during this sort of thing was the sort of influx of Mexican immigrants, both illegal and legal, and how it related to my life, at least. That's partially why I picked the Crossing Borders, because being from Texas, illegal immigration and immigration, especially from Mexico and Latin American countries, has such a strong effect on our economy and our day-to-day life. For those of you who don't know, Texas it's an amazing state. It's a great state, great economy and everything, and but a lot of it it has very different parts of it. There's the economic sort of supremacy of Houston and Dallas and Austin. People are just very, very wealthy, very, very affluent, know exactly what they want in life. And then there's places like there's smaller cities where it's harder to get jobs, it's harder to make money, it's harder to leave the town that you're in and move on and do something better. And what was interesting to me is that when growing up, we have the guy who mows my lawn, he's from Mexico. The person who cleans my house, she's from Mexico. You can't go a day at all in Texas and not see someone who's from Mexico and who's either working for you or working with you or has something to do with your life. And it was interesting to me because people seem to have such a negative sort of stigma towards the Mexican immigrants, whereas personally I think it was really a good thing. There are obviously problems such as potential crime issues, if they commit a crime here, they might have to be extradited. It's just a lot more paperwork, a lot more complicated for our government to work out. But the way I see it is, I don't want to have to be the one to mow my lawn. I don't want to have to be the one to take out my trash, and I don't want to have to be the one to clean my house. I'm glad that I can, or my family can pay for someone else to do it, who is safe, who we know wants to be in the country, who we know doesn't want to mess up for fear of being kicked out, or further perpetuating the stereotype of this Mexican stole my stuff, whatever, blah blah blah. But it works for me because there's a lot of jobs in this country that I don't want to do, and there's a lot of jobs that the Mexican people whose sort of values are based strongly on manual labor and hands-on equipment and working very, very hard for really not that much opportunity. And I respect the fact that they want to come to America and take advantage of our economy and take advantage of people like me who don't want to necessarily do the tiny jobs within the day, but they still need to have them done and who are willing to pay for it. Another thing that's interesting to me is that because the immigration sort of is such a big deal in Texas, that you have to learn more about Mexican and Latin American culture. For example, I haven't spoken Spanish in a while, but I was fluent last summer. Just because I live in Texas, just because you have to speak it on a daily basis. We have street signs in Spanish. We have businesses with restaurants with Spanish menus. We have businesses with Mexican CEOs and Mexican executives. And if you want to effectively communicate with them, and if you want to show them that your deal is most important to them, or if their deal is most important to you, you want to portray the image that you want to work with them, and that you will go out of your way to speak a different language to maybe connect them a little bit better. Also, there are many, obviously, Cinco de Mayo, quinceañeras, any sort of party or event that we wouldn't normally have, but has been brought to us by the Mexican culture. Lots of fun. A lot of my friends are from Mexico, and they're great people. And honestly, I don't really understand why everyone's concerned so much about this sort of influx of immigrants, whether they're legal or not. and simply because it's beneficial to me on a day-to-day basis, and it's really just more helpful than hurtful, at least at this point in my life. So that's really all I have to say about crossing borders, new student dialogue.